So, hello and welcome. I am really excited today to be speaking to the lovely Grace Kelly. I have to hold my hands up and say this is the first time we've actually interacted. I think we've both kind of seen each other and know of each other, but we've never actually had a conversation. But I just love what you and Dominic are up to, the living miraculously. If you're hearing that and you don't know what it is, do go and check it out. I'll make sure there's a link under this because it is miraculous. You'll love it. And then, having watched your journey over the last few years, with what happened to you, which maybe you'll share a bit about. Yeah, Grace is well worth going to check out, having a look what she's up to and what she does. So if you enjoy this conversation, do reach out to her. So this is one of my 60th birthday conversations to celebrate my 60th year. I'm just having some amazing fun with some truly inspiring people, some people who really inspire me. So Grace, do you want to tell us anything about you that you think we might be interested to know? And let's see where the conversation goes.
Oh, well, thank you, Deborah. And it's a real honor to be in one of your conversations to celebrate the 60th. I didn't realize that. So, congratulations. That's lovely. Um, it's always a little disconcerting when you're asked to talk about yourself, but um, I guess what comes forth is that I've really experienced some shifts in my life in the last 3 years. I lost my partner very suddenly 3 years ago, and whilst I've been coaching for the last decade, I think that the transformation in the last 3 years just took me to a deeper place with my intuition and my knowing. Um, I had a very spiritual experience of his death. I know now after speaking to so many people that death wasn't necessarily like that for others. But in the moment of coming home and finding my partner dead, I was overcome with the deepest feeling of love that I've ever experienced. And up until that point, Deborah, I think I was really trying to grasp love intellectually in my relationship. And so I lost a lot of my relationship in my head, kind of trying to, sort of just worrying about, is this the right relationship? Is this all there is? Is this what we're going to do for the rest of our lives? And I spend a lot of mental energy worrying about myself um and my my love life. And in that moment, just experiencing Francesco's death, I realized something deeply true about love in the sense that it's a feeling, and it's only our insecure minds that can take us away from that feeling. And I'll give you an example, just how powerful that insecure mind can be. Prior to his death, he passed me on the street, and it was unusual to see him. He was in the car with a friend, and they'd been on a bike ride, and he was a big cycler. I love cycling, and I was kind of surprised. He caught me off guard that he was not on the bike, he was in the car going somewhere. But he rolled down the window and he said, um, "Hey, baby, I love you. You're gorgeous," or something like that. Just some compliment. He was always very complimentary. And I remember in that moment, I was just so caught up on, oh my God, how do I look? Oh no, he's with his friends. I hope they all approve of me. And oh my God, I don't have time to stop and speak with him because I need to get somewhere. I was in this flavor of thought that was very self-orientated, worried about self, worried about coming across a certain way. And it was so innocent.
Yeah.
But in the moment I went back home and, there he was dead, I fell out of that noise and I just fell into this deep feeling of love and appreciation. And since that moment, it has struck me that there's nothing to fear in death. We are brought back to all of who we are, and at our core, we are love. And in a relationship, there is only love, but for the insecure mind trying to analyze, compare, wonder, get in the way. And that's really changed me, Deborah, in the last 3 years, and it's kind of changed the direction of my coaching, because I guess with that feeling, I've also experienced a deeper trust in life, a deeper trust in intuition, a deeper trust in this connection to love and all that we are. And it's carried me through my grief to the point that today, 3 years on, I'm in a really beautiful new partnership with someone, very unlike Francesco, but extremely, I'm able to be there. I'm able to be in a relationship. I'm in service to the world in a way that just seems to flow. You mentioned Living Miraculously, our best-selling group program. Just being in service in a way that feels effortless and coming towards me rather than me trying to go and get it. And I feel a deep sense of peace. I woke up this morning, and you sort of do monitor your grief at times. And I realized this morning, God, you're doing well, Grace. Those big drops have mellowed out a bit, and those that lamenting of the past has eased up a bit. And I think that really comes down to that feeling of love continuing to envelope me, and me reminding myself of that, what's really true. And secondly, understanding how the mind works, understanding that state of mind truly plays a role in how we experience not just the world, but how we experience grief and loss and any form of loss. And that it's really helped me to delve deep on that too.
Wow, I just love what you've shared, and thank you for that. Yeah, that was really, really beautiful. And there is so much hope in there, in all of that, whether it is us that are getting to a space where we're looking at our life and how much is left, or anything like that, or whether potentially we're looking at other people, that kind of thing, seeing that depth of love and connection. And what I know you said, not everybody has this experience, and that is true of many experiences. We experience things differently, but what I love about what it opens up is the possibility and the hope that is what is there, that is who we are. And looking in that direction just continues to hugely open things up. And I love, you share the most delightful prayers, the prayers that you write and share on Facebook. I just love reading those, because it's just, even if it's not particularly applicable to me in that moment, and some of them are, obviously, sometimes we read this, it's like, wow, yeah, that was just what I needed to hear. And other times it maybe isn't, but there's, in every one of them, there is just something so gorgeous in that reminder of, I feel like things like death and illness and all of those kinds of things, it's very, very easy to have one view of how it is, how it's going to be if, when, whatever it happens to me, or this sort of thing. And I know what has been massively helpful to me is just seeing that that is very much to do with my state of mind. You know, the lower my state of mind, my level of consciousness, my vibration, whatever word works for you, the lower I am in that place, the less there is available to me. It's kind of like, yeah, it looks like it's this, or maybe even just this. And yet, as we open up, as we connect with this love, as we see something, it's like, well, this is possible and that's possible. So yeah, thank you. There was some absolute gold and some beautiful, beautiful things in there. So could you tell us a little bit about like the prayers and things that you share? Do they come to you? Do you, how did that start? Because they are truly beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really turned to prayer and spirit. After that experience, I was just touched so deeply by this force of God, is how I would describe it, this love, that I just find myself praying and asking for support, not necessarily just from a worried state or a desperate state. We can all turn to prayer when we're kind of getting in trouble and desperate for support, but I find myself just beginning to incorporate prayer, which really is a form of asking, Deborah. I find myself asking, and with that, I find myself receiving. And so I think with the prayers, it's a lot of the time I kind of hear a download,
Mm.
I kind of hear a message, and I just go with it. So I might hear something like prayer for feeling shut down. Or I might hear something like prayer for a new beginning. And I just begin to write the sort of things that I would be asking for. And that comes through in the prayer. And sometimes, because I'm working with clients regularly, I'm hearing what people are struggling with too. And sometimes that for me will form the basis of a prayer that I write for my community. That it would help all of them to read that. But it's interesting that, yeah, the prayers have kind of come to life in the last couple of years, and are born from asking. That's one of the things that happened to me too, with my partner's death. Is like I began to ask for signs. I began to ask to see that he was still around me and with me and my dog. He was 2 when Francesco passed away, and I just began to ask, please show me, please give me examples. And the number of examples and miracles and signs that came through have formed, I would say, 4 or 5 books worth of just evidence of this eternal love. And so I find that prayer is a form of asking, and I'll say, dear Francesco, please, please show me how to handle this situation, or please take care of this particular problem. Or, and I'm talking about anything from the ridiculous to the most important. Like, maybe I can't open my bottle of wine, and I'm like, come on, Francesco, help me. Please help me open this easily and effortlessly. To, my passport, needing to renew my passport at the time that he died, and finding out that it was going to take 6 months for a new one because Brexit had come into place and everyone was running for an Irish passport. And here I am in Italy with no passport to get home, and I'm stuck on this system. And I know that my partner was top notch with technology and all of that. And so my prayer at that time was, please, please, please speed up my passport. Please get me my passport as soon as possible. I'm going to need to go home. And expecting there to be maybe, a 3 month wait instead of a 6 month wait. My mum then calls me to say 2 weeks later, your passport has arrived, a brand new passport. So, from tiny to big, I believe in prayer. I believe in asking. I believe in communicating with spirit, with God, with our loved ones, with all of the energy and consciousness that is pure love, wanting to be of service to us because it's who we are.
I love that. And I've got a funny little story to share around that, because there's a lovely lady, Jo Murphy. I'm sure she will watch this. I know she will. So Jo, yeah, big shout out to Jo Murphy. And she is a part of the Living Miraculously program that you and Dominic do. And she told me about on one of these calls that you had talked about this and shared how Francesco, helps you with all things. And I know Dominic shared something about Francesco helping him with a technical issue on one of your calls, which is totally miraculous. And Jo said, oh, Grace is so amazing. She's happy to share Francesco with anyone. That, it's if you find yourself in technical difficulty, just pray to Francesco. And then a few days later, I was preparing a course for my community, and I needed to upload a video on a system that I was doing. And I'd not done it before, and I tried and it didn't work, and I was doing loads of things and I was getting frustrated, and I kind of went in the kitchen and had a cup of tea. I thought, come back with fresh eyes. I came back and it didn't work again. And then I remembered this conversation with Jo, and I was kind of like, hey, Francesco, I know you don't know me. I know, Grace said you're great, you're amazing. And I just had this whole conversation and just kind of said, would you mind helping me? Could you help me? The next time that I uploaded that thing, it just went straight in. I tried to press the button and it was like, oh my gosh, it was just so, it was a real moment, it's, and like you say, it's just like, yeah, there is just so much love that wants to be in service to us when we are open to being served. And it was like, wow, that was just an amazing moment. And it's like, oh my gosh. So I hope you don't mind that.
Oh, it's so beautiful. Deborah, so many of my clients write to me and they're like, I hope you don't mind, but I called her. And I'm like, I don't mind. He's probably thinking, my God, babe, you've got me working even when I'm dead, But this consciousness, this energy, you see, it from the place our loved ones now stand, anything is possible. It's us in this limited human bodily form that come up against all the resistance. And so I just find that in handing it over to spirit, to prayer, to our loved ones, and particularly if somebody was really good at something in this life, they're like, they're without any resistance from where they now are. So of course, calling on all of that, praying to asking towards all of that, gets us out of the way and allows for divine intervention. And so I just have books and books of these miracles, Deborah, and I think yours would be an awesome one to add to the list.
Please do, yeah.
So that's kind of where prayer comes in, that this asking. Yeah.
I love the ripples of this conversation and these conversations, because it is, like that example that I shared. You and I have never spoken. I never met Francesco. I've seen photographs of him on your Facebook, but I never met him. And yet he and you impacted my life before that even happened. And I know, one of the reasons that I love doing these conversations and having these conversations is because we have no idea where this is going to lead, and potentially, you know, there could be things happen off the back of this conversation that we never know. But it is just so gorgeous, I think, and it is such a beautiful thing to hold about our loved ones in that way, to kind of think it's not the end. There is something, you know, that continues, like Francesco has impacted me, and goodness, and I've shared that story with quite a few people. I've sort of said, wow, this amazing thing happened. It was really, really cool. And definitely found myself leaning more into the really practical side of spirit. You know, the kind of the whole, it can sound very woo woo and out there, and people can, I don't know, whatever people think about it. But one of the things I know, when I first came across the principles and started looking in this direction, in this kind of way, for me, it was like I was struggling. I'd been in a very unhealthy relationship, and it was kind of like, if this isn't helpful in real ways, like, you know, if my children are struggling, or if something is real is happening in the world, if this isn't helpful to me, it's all very well talking about spirit and all of those kinds of things, but if it doesn't help me in practical ways in my everyday life, then I haven't really got time to just do something kind of like that. So one of the things that I truly, truly love, and that's what I'm loving about your story and what you're sharing, the absolute real practical helpfulness of it.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love the practical too, Deborah. I'm a Capricorn, and I like things to get done in this world.
yeah, exactly. This is it.
And I must say, you know, Francesca, my partner, was so good at fixing things. And the moment I was kind of, you know, left on my own physically, I was so concerned about the practical.
Yeah.
Like, how do I do practical things, you know? When it comes to my business, it's okay, but when it comes to technology, or even, you know, boring things like, how do I open this bottle of wine? The thing is stuck, you know? So for me, I've come to understand that, you know, spirit and matter are one. You know, it's like there is this practical element to spirit, and there is this spiritual element to everything else. So I love that. I love that you can see there's, you know, there's this possibility of having both. And you seem to be looking in that direction more and more.
Yeah, yeah, definitely seeing the connection. And I guess I really love you to share a little bit more, like when you were talking about, like, with the prayers and with this whole I've got a book that I really enjoy reading, and it's called Jesus Calling. I don't know whether you've ever seen this book, and I'm not religious particularly, and one of the things that I see is that religion doesn't own God. The word God works for me. I'm happy with that, and I really, whatever you call spirit, you know, our higher perspective, our inner being, whatever it is you call this, I can see, what I have seen for myself is this whole thing that I do. It's kind of like I will call on this bigger part of me, this greater intelligence that knows what I don't know, and then I'm going along, and all of a sudden then I have this moment of, oh cool, yeah, I've got it now, yeah, don't need you now, I know, I've seen it, I can do this, I can take over from here. And what I love particularly about this book, it's like, there's just daily little readings. And this, I guess, is what your prayers do for me too. It's kind of this reminder, you're not here to do this on your own. I don't think we're ever here. You know, what I hear in everything that you're saying is, we are an integral part. They're not, you know, when you said matter and these, they're not, we're not, there's not a separation there. And it's like, it's not a competition to do this on our own. And it's like the continual reminders. Yeah, remember I'm here to help you. Yeah, remember I can see things you can't see. Yeah, remember, I'm kind of whatever. I'm looking, I know everything. I've got I've got access to all of it. I can give it to you. Don't do it on your own. So I'd love to kind of hear your take and perspective on that, because I know that's something that's really, I'm like, oh yeah, just not here to do it on my own, am I?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want to any more, because what I can achieve with my limited mind is just so insignificant compared to what spirit can do through us. And so, I have a lot of resistance in many areas. And what I notice about calling on God, spirit, a loved one, and a guide, anything
An
you
angel.
decide you're into, yeah, it's like, oh, that seems to work. It gets easier. Um, there's a level of less efforting that I notice occurs when I hand it over. And it's interesting, we sometimes do get to that point where it's like, well, I don't need you anymore. And all that's happened is, we've just fallen out of asking or appreciating, you know. But the support is still there. It's just, we start to notice things are getting effortful, and that's our cue to step back a bit, so I just wouldn't want to be leading the way, given what is available, from life, given what is available around us. And that might feel woo-woo for people, but I think everyone can connect with moments in their life where they just had moments of flow. They had a feeling of effortlessness. They had moments of easiness. And it's like that's on offer more and more of the time. Our job is to ask for help and to step away from the efforting around it all, and let it all, in a sense, be taken care of.
So if someone was watching this and they're enjoying what we're saying, but they're like, I know we have talked a little bit about prayers, but if they're kind of saying, yeah, but I haven't got a clue how to ask or who to ask, what would you say to somebody in a position like that?
Yeah. Well, we're always asking unconsciously. Like, we're always sort of yearning for something. And in our yearning, wanting to eat better, for example, or wishing we could exercise more, or, kind of wishing we had more money. Like, we're always asking in some form. The beautiful thing about bringing it into verbal communication is, that you can just start by just saying it out loud or writing it down, whomever, whatever you believe in. I like the word spirit because I feel like it covers just about everything. But many people prefer to use God or a religious figure or a guide or a loved one. And so it's just a case of, dear whoever, give me a fresh perspective on this situation. Show me something new about this. Help me see this differently. Because remember that the first miracle we're all looking for is a change in perspective, right? It's a change in how we're seeing ourselves, how we're seeing others, how we're seeing money, how we're seeing life. That's the first miracle. And we're really just asking a lot of the time, help me see this differently. And as spirit gets a chance to shift our perception of something, we find ourselves also behaving differently. We find ourselves acting differently. Now, I'm a bit more interested in, you know, um, you know, okay, dear spirit, please motivate me to move, motivate me to really exercise today, give me the energy and the vitality and the motivation to move my body more so than I did yesterday. Because, that's kind of one of the areas that I kind of like, if I lean on myself over there, it's not going to happen. So I need a lot of spiritual support in that area. So, we can be as specific as help me do X, whatever, Y, Z, I'll walk into the supermarket, Deborah, and I'll say, literally, I love Saint Raphael. He was the healing or he is the healing angel and saint. And he's all about healing and he's all about travel. So if I'm walking into a supermarket or I'm walking into an airport, I'm like, okay, thank you, dear, Archangel Raphael, guide my choices when I'm purchasing food today. Show me what you'd have me eat. If I'm walking into an airport or I'm going to be boarding a plane, Archangel Raphael, keep this flight smooth for me. Let everything run smoothly. Make sure everything's on time. And most of all, take care of my luggage and be sure that it gets out on good time. So I'll be very specific as well. Now, you don't have to know, well, which angel does what and who does this. And no, you can just stick with, you have a desire for something, hand it over to spirit. Dear God, this is an absolute mess. Help me sort it out quickly. I wanted to go see a show in London. And, Deborah, my patience for online, I know I run an entire empire online.
It's hilarious, isn't it?
My patience for like booking tickets and trying to find seats and trying to find flights, it's so low. Again, that was something that Francesco was much better at. So I'm looking at going to London. I'm looking at, I want to see this show, but oh my God, the Royal Albert Hall. How do I know which seats are good and which seats are not? The place is huge. And so I just hear myself saying quietly, an internal prayer, let this process be easy. And I go online and I've been on Ticketmaster already, and I go online this time and I type in the show I want, and I go online this time and the actual Royal Albert Hall comes up. And then I go through it and I'm like, oh, there's a phone number. Now, this might seem common sense to other people, but to me, it wasn't common sense. It was miraculous. I'm like, why don't I just call them? And surely I could just buy the tickets with them. So I'm on the phone to this nice lady and she's given me the whole spiel. And I just said to her, can I buy the tickets here? And she said, oh, well, yes, you can. But if you want other tickets, I'm like, no, just I'll have the tickets that you've got. And so in the space of a couple of hours, somebody's dealt with the flights without me having to go online. Somebody's dealt with the tickets. And somebody else has dealt with the hotel booking, because as it turns out, where I will stay is the same owners of the hotel that are nearby me here. And so here's this trinity, like, of what looks so overwhelming in my world, taken care of by a gentle, let this process be easy prayer. If it had been up to me, I'd been struggling in resistance. Oh my God, how do I get this thing on Ryanair to go through? How do I do this on the Ticketmaster? And oh, which hotel should I stay in? There's a myriad of choices. Instead, it's like, whoa, all resistance is removed when we ask and hand it over.
I just love that. It's so beautiful, isn't it? When we can do that, it's so amazing. And one of the things, I'm in the middle of this crazy project at the moment, but loving it for these reasons, because I kind of deliberately started it to see what would be created and what, I love being playful with the universe, playful with spirit, whatever, And I've wanted for a long, long time. I didn't even realize how long actually until I started to do this, and people were kind of coming back going, oh my gosh, yeah, you're doing that. You said about that ages ago. So I bought this old agricultural barn, and it's like a building plot to, there's permission to change it into a house for me, a home for me and my partner. And we're going to do the whole thing ourselves, like physically we're going to build, we're going to do all this. But it was very much like, I was speaking to someone this morning and they kind of said, are you actually thinking that ignorance is bliss? And in what you're saying, I'm kind of like, I actually kind of am, because it's like I know, like a few people have sort of said, if you're actually going to build this house, do you know what that entails? And I'm kind of saying, no, but I know that I can ask, exactly like you said. It's like, and so far with things, a couple of things that have come up with planning, and a couple of things that have come up around having the finances. Like one of the hugest jokes about this is I have zero finance for this house, and then it's like, right, okay, I need to pay this to the planning, so how am I going to do that? And then it almost feels like it, like you say, it's just kind of okay, I'll see what happens next. I'm just going to let it wait and see what happens. And it's blowing my mind when we can have a lightness in that way, and just be kind of, and I watch myself sometimes, like with the buying of the actual plot of land, I watched myself go into fear and slow the whole thing down on purpose. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm getting really scared about this, and watch myself create that, and then go to a place of, yeah, I'm actually ready for this to happen now. And then bang, the land belongs to me. It's like, wow.
Well, no miracle is too small and no miracle is too big, and again, why would we want to be out there efforting on our own back when there's an entire world of support, albeit a non-physical world, but it's all there supporting us. And it just looks to me like the energy behind life, works through each person, bringing us the right people, the right connections, the money, the house, the location, and yet if we go searching for it all as we've been taught to, we rarely find what we're looking for.
And I love also, because definitely for me, I don't want to win the lottery and just be able to fund part of the fun with this. For me, I've already been spending quite a fair amount of time physically at the land, clearing the land, that it was kind of like really high with brambles and bushes and goodness knows what, and we're going to have a caravan there and live there. And I was thinking about this whole, I could maybe just ask for the perfect house that was already built. And it's like, that's for me personally. And I know a few people have kind of gone, oh my gosh, it would be my worst nightmare to actually build a house. But I also love that side of it. We are here in physical form. Like you say, you want to go and experience the show and watch the show. It could be that the easiest thing is to sit at home and do nothing. The easiest thing potentially is to just be in spirit and not do any of this. But it's like, we're actually here doing this. So the sort of the guidance to, and the fun, and some of the near misses, and I really feel sometimes like there's a whole comedy side of this. Some of the things that happen, it's like they're having a right old laugh here while this is going on, falling over in this mud when it's really wet. It feels like there's a whole comedy side to it too when we do crazy things. But it's really, it's the balance, isn't it, of how easy do we want it, but also there's no fun in no doing.
Oh yes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's just a blissful experience when you're on the path, following your desires and doing it gracefully, but having some help with it. And I think that's just the place we kind of come to, is that kind of, that living miraculously, as we say at Deborah, is just following that desire and knowing that whatever looks impossible in human form is possible from the spiritual form, and we have access to that. We have access to all of that. If a passport can get to the front of a queue when there's a 6-month waiting list, and I have countless examples where time and space really mattered.
Yes.
And as far as spirit was concerned, I shouldn't have paid any attention to that whatsoever. We can live in this worry about the small print when actually the small print is optional.
I love that. I love that. So if people want to know more about you, I'll definitely put a link to the Living Miraculously and that kind of thing. But if people want to know more about you, I mean, you've shared some beautiful things with us, and I know, some of the things that you've been through, that people can get stuck on that sort of thing. So I think it's really, what you're sharing, who you are being in the world is really, it's beautiful, and it's so helpful. So if anybody wants to know more, I know you do coaching, you've got a website. So if anyone wants to know more about you, what's the easiest, how would they find you, and what's the easiest way to do that?
Yeah, well, if you don't all think I'm too crazy by now.
If they're listening to anything that I've done, trust me, I'm out the park crazy. So you're
Well, I have a number of blogs I've written just from I call them grace notes. They are notes of love on love and loss, and a lot of them contain just my journey, with the miracles of love that have occurred since the death of my partner. So you can find that and enjoy those pieces of writing over on gracefulcoaching.net. And that's my website. Um, and yeah, I, I think that whatever other link you have there will have people reach me if they want to. So thank you for sharing.
Sure, please reach out to me. I can connect with Grace if you can't find anything. But yeah, I'll put any of that information underneath this on my YouTube channel anyway. But it's been such fun having a conversation with you and finding out more. As I said, I've watched you and your story, and how amazingly graceful you are with all of this. It's your name is so fitting for you. And I'm sure I'm not the first person to say that.
It's not easy being named after one of the most beautiful actresses in the world. But I think that it's a little easier to take advantage of the name Grace. Just that's easier. People remember that name.
It's lovely, and it really suits you. So thank you so much for being generous with your time and what you shared with us. And yeah, that was gorgeous. I loved it. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Me too. Take care. Thank you.